Am I the butthole for calling the police on my daughter's fiancé? I'm a single dad of 2 girls. Megan 23, and Zoe 17. I'm doing well financially. Note I'm not rich, in fact I raised my girls under tough circumstances, but I made sure they'd everything they needed. Megan is engaged. They've been saving for the wedding for months now. They're struggling. I got Megan a car when she was 18 that she hasn't been able to fix because of rent, saving for the wedding, daily expenses, etc. I understand that cheap cars require constant maintenance, but it was a great gift for her, especially since she wanted to be independent. Zoe's 18th birthday is next month. I got her a Hyundai that cost me $5,000. It runs perfectly. This is the first car Zoe owns. She has no experience in driving, so I wanted to get a car with less issues. Zoe likes it and can't wait to drive it. The key will be handed to her on her 18th birthday. It's been in the garage for 2 months now. It sure needs cleaning and will be as good as new. Days ago, Megan's fiancé started complaining about needing a car since Megan's car can no longer run. He said that he was tired of using public transportation to go places like the hospital and school, and said that they're literally broke because public transportation is expensive. He asked if he could borrow the Hyundai we have in the garage. But I told him no. That is a gift and cannot be given to anybody. I offered to lend him $100, but he refused, saying he will never take money from me. 2 days ago, I returned from work. Zoe was looking upset and worried. I asked what was going on and she told me Megan's fiancé came and took her car, the Hyundai. I asked her when and she said at 10 a.m. So he was gone for almost 10 hours. She told me he found the keys in my office and got the car out of the garage. She told him not to take, but he took it. I was mad. I called him. He didn't answer. I called Megan. She was out with friends. I told her fiancé took her sister's car and wasn't answering the phone. Told her he should have never touched it and that I'd call one more time then go to the police. She said I was overreacting and he'll return it later. I got fed up. At 7 p.m. I called the police and reported the car stolen. He got picked at 9 and was taken to the station. Megan came home yelling at me, telling me that I just caused her fiancé to spend a night in jail and that they already took permission from Zoe, but Zoe denied it. I argued with her that I already told him no. Doesn't matter if they took permission. I'm the one who's responsible for the car, it's not Zoe's yet. I talked to the officers and he got released in the morning. Megan didn't stop calling me a butthole, saying I overreacted, completely ignoring that this is her sister's gift he took. He wants an apology from me, but I refuse to have them come to my house after this. I could tell Zoe felt worried and upset and clearly couldn't deal with Megan's fiancé's behavior. As a parent, I had to do something, even if this upsets Megan. Am I the butthole for calling the police? Not the butthole. He ignored your words, went into your home, went into your office, took the keys, ignored your daughter and stole the car from your garage. He then took it for the entire day and didn't respond to your calls. You had every right to call the cops. Don't let them try to pretend like you're wrong here. NTA. Inform your older daughter that taking something once you've been explicitly told no is theft. He stole a car. Tell her to grow up and stop making excuses for her fiancé stealing your car and refusing to give it back, and that rationalizing that away is insane. Oh my, look at all these lovely little flags the fiancé is dropping everywhere. Megan is showing some pretty poor judgment too, so they could be meant for each other. Just want to add that as a domestic violence survivor, not saying she is or not, it's normal to make excuses for your abuser or repeat their rationale for their terrible behavior even when it sounds ridiculous and the abused knows better. I could be totally off the mark, but that really hit home for me. It urged the dad to make sure his daughter is in a safe space, let her know he is there 100% for her, and ask if everything is okay in that relationship. When I talk to abusers and victims, it is very common for victims to not only make excuses for their abusers, but to repeat their abuser's excuses word for word. Our brains excel at finding excuses for people who, at one time, made us feel loved, safe or special. Here is the full article if anyone is interested. Edit Ong, thank you for the awards. Y'all are too kind. Anyone that's dealing with or dealt with DV or think you know someone, my inbox is always open. Spread love, not hate. Edit y'all. No more awards please. If you want to spend a few dollars, please make your way and donate to the National Domestic Hotline. Web link. I completely agree. When I read this, I remembered an incident that was very similar. But I was the Megan. It literally took me sitting across him in jail after he had used my car without permission in a hit and run for me to realize that I needed to stop making excuses for him. He had stolen from me and told glaringly obvious lies, but he also made me feel special and loved. It's been over a decade and I still feel filled with shame when I think about this time. I sincerely hope that this is the kick it takes Megan to realize that her fiancé is 3 trash bags loosely held together in a trench coat. Edited to add, to the best of my knowledge, nobody was hurt in the incident. It was a fender bender, but he sped away because he was, no surprises for guessing, drunk at the time. I never questioned this, but now that I think about it, literally all my information on the incident came through him and he had a vested interest in my perception of events, so now I'm not sure. Sadly, as someone who's worked in healthcare and encountered more survivors of abuse than I ever cared to imagine existed, this is very common. People only realize how awful someone actually is when they hurt someone else. People can convince themselves they deserve all manner of nasty crap, but it seems like it's hard for those people to accept others deserve it too. It's sad because you realize their self-esteem was that low. They only truly realize the depths of how wrong this behavior is when it happens to others. It's heartbreaking to think people can hate themselves that much. Sometimes I see those posts that ask something along the lines of, if you could give your past self advice, what would it be? If I answered honestly, I'd probably have to say that I just want to violently shake my teenage self's shoulders while maniacally shouting, love yourself. For the love of all that is good, just love yourself and spare us all a decade of misery. Of course, I wouldn't have listened. Seriously. I would never tolerate this from someone I expected to spend the rest of my life with. The older daughter should be concerned about the character of the man she's about to marry. And the fact that he has no vehicle of his own and can't afford public transportation. Doesn't sound like a real winner in the mating pool? The police wouldn't have arrested him and kept him overnight if it was all fine. Also, and this may be slightly unrelated, but the fact that they can't afford to fix their own car is their own effing fault if they are choosing to set aside money for a wedding, which is essentially a party, instead of doing the reasonable and practical thing and repairing their car. I have so little pity for people who choose to do dumb crap with their money and then whine about not having their own basic needs met. You are right, but I'm going to go one step further and say that until you have been explicitly told yes, then it's theft. You shouldn't need to tell someone not to take things that don't belong to them. But, especially after they've been clearly told no. Not the butthole, this never justifies taking property, but I do wonder why the younger sister got a car with minimum issues for repairing as it was her first car, while then sister got one that needed repairing. They got cars at the same age? I am sure there is a logical reason, but all I can think of is how unfair my older sister would think the situation was if I got a better car than her. Smiley face. The older sister has owned her car for longer, therefore more issues as usage equals maintenance. The older sister probably got a car with no issues when she first owned it. Improper maintenance, or putting off maintenance due to lack of funds, means the problems pile up. Edit, they are 6 years apart, a lot of things can go wrong on a car in 6 years. Also not the butthole edit, thank you for the award. This. I have a sister who is perpetually poor who somehow inherits perfectly acceptable, good condition used cars. And runs them into the ground because she skips oil changes, ignores warning lights, continually runs it on empty, doesn't change out anything like filters or plugs, etc. She's done this with at least 5 to 6 cars in her life. She should get one 1.9 TDI VW Passat. I have one and I wanted to die to justify a new car. I stopped changing the oil 2 years ago at 220,000 kilometers and it's almost at 320,000 kilometers and it doesn't effing die. Starts perfectly every single effing day, the piece of crap. Why would you stop changing the oil? It's so cheap and it is basically all an engine needs. You could just sell the car at some point with high miles if you take care of it instead of just deciding to wait until it blows up. Now you would be a butthole if you sold it without disclosing that. 220,000 kilometers / 136,000 miles is nothing for a diesel with a reputation of running 800,000 kilometers / 500,000 miles. I feel like I've bought a car from someone like you before, so screw you. I should have been clearer, I'll explain. I've had a big crash with the car about 6 years ago now. It cost me quite a bit to repair, but it wasn't done very well, and the fitting on the interior is all crap, and the airbags were just shorted, meaning just tricked the sensor so the car thinks the airbags are there but they are gone. They already popped. Because of that alone I would never, ever, sell that car to anyone. It's a car from 2004 with 320 km, which is not a lot in miles, but it's not comparable because roads in the United States are all straight and nice on the cars. Here the cars get a lot more punishment. That I beat on hard, I do mean hard, for years. It wouldn't be worth much anyway, and I could never, in good faith, sell it. So yeah, you definitely didn't buy a car from someone like me. Well, sorry to come at you hot. I appreciate the response and that's good to hear, but it still doesn't make any sense to me to just wantonly destruct something, but also who am I to tell you what to do with your own stuff? Sometimes it comes down to the fact that repairing the old car would be almost as expensive as buying new/younger car, and or would take funds you need to increase instead. Like, I still do maintenance on my car, but I know there are two issues that would make it hard to sell it, but I just don't have €1,200 I would need to get rid of them when I count in the fact that I intend to buy a newer car over this 20-year-old Fabia since we plan on kids. If there was even a chance that those €1,200 would be returned when the buyer comes, that might have been an option, but cars like mine are sold at about €1,200 if you are lucky, so this is just not justified. I would rather sell this car for less in this condition and get some more funds than repair it, sell it for slightly more, but realize if I didn't lose money on it, I barely broke even. Not the butthole, but keep an eye out, they might start unfairly pressuring Zoe. She's young and it can be hard to say no to pestering older relatives. Yep. Sounds like original poster. Keeping the car keys with him at all times is the short-term solution, and making sure the youngest has the agency and ability to say no if they try to pressure her later on would help. The keys were in Op's office. Megan's finance should have never taken anything from there in the first place. He literally entered someone's office without permission and stole from it. There is no justification is the word for what happened here. The fiancé stole. And even after Megan was informed about Op's plan to call the police, after original poster waited until 7 p.m., the finance still had the effing car until 9 p.m. What the F was this guy even doing all day? That he wasn't answering calls and deliberately took a car without permission? This reeks of suspicion. Maybe he was using the car to commit more crimes? Or cheating on Megan if she was somehow unable to reach after original poster told her his intentions before 7 p.m. I hope this is a wake-up call for everybody that this guy is shady as F and possibly needs to be investigated. NTA. This finance guy sounds like a jerk. Sounds like he is not so smart with his finances. I think the answer is that the fiancé needs to not come into the home again. He shouldn't be in contact with Zoe at all. Sister might be in contact or a mediator though. Isn't it ironic the fiancé won't take Op's money but he'll steal a car from his fiancé's kid sister? Thoughtful face, raised eyebrow. I won't take your $100 gift, but I'll steal $5,000 behind your back. Because it wasn't about having a car, it was about having that car. He wanted the nicer car, not the old beater. This is true. My brother talked into some bad decisions because I have a hard time telling him no. NTA, it is your property until you hand it to your daughter, and then it is still technically partially yours. If you're denied it, he had no right to take the vehicle. It sucks to be an adult sometimes and learn consequences to actions. I think you did the right thing and took justified action. You even told your daughter what you would do if you couldn't get a hold of him. She was trying to call you on your bluff, when you weren't bluffing. Since the gift is going to be on her 18th birthday, it will not be technically Op's. Also, this is not quite how minor property rights work. If it's going to be a gift on her 18th birthday, it's Op's. You don't own a gift until it is given. He isn't holding it in trust for her, and he simply hasn't gifted it yet. Buying something to be a gift doesn't mean it always belonged to the recipient. It only belongs to them once actually gifted. The act of gifting it is what transfers ownership. Buying it simply makes it yours to give away. It is your property until you hand it to your daughter, and then it is still technically partially yours. This is the sentence I was responding to. The second half is not true. The second half is not true. Depends. If the car remains registered in OP's name, it is still his car, it is just provided for the daughter's use. Yep. Legally it's still OP's unless they change the title of the car. My car I've had since I was 16 is still legally my mom's, and I've had it almost 18 years now. Damn. I recently purchased a new vehicle, but the old one is going back to my mom and she can decide what happens to it. Well, once it's safe to travel to see her again. It still runs well, so it's probably going to my nephew who's going to be 18 soon. It will still legally be my mom's. I think you might not realize what technically means. It would mean that, in the letter of the law, the car belongs to you. Outright ownership doesn't exclude technical ownership. Technical ownership is what determines outright ownership. I think you're confused because technically is often used to mean de jure, in law, where the de facto, in fact, doesn't oblige. What you said is not true. When parents give their kid a car, it usually stays in their name. They are simply giving the right to use the car. It will almost certainly always be OP's car. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.